Thank you, Ann. And she often talk about hearts wide open, right? Ann is a perfect example of that. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our trip. Paul and I just got back from a fabulous Viking cruise, actually a couple weeks ago. We started in Venice and then went down the coast of Greece and around and ended up in Athens. And of course, there are beautiful destinations, beautiful sunrises, beautiful weather, beautiful views. But the one thing that we were looking forward to most was chilling in the hot tub. And the Viking ship had 3 hot tubs, okay, from the front, middle, and back. So we had to decide which one we wanted to spend our time in. So we decided on the second night there we would go on a tub crawl. And we would hit all 3 tubs and then decide which one we like. You know, check out the privacy, you know, the proximity to the bar and the buffet and that kind of stuff. And of course, as you might expect, there was always at least 2 to 5 people in each of the hot tubs. The first one was right outside the main dining room. It was kind of crowded, so, you know, I'm getting in, I'm ready for that old, the old slide in the hot tub with strangers awkwardness there. And, we'd greet everybody, find our spot, and then, that would be it. But then Paula gets in, and as she slides in, she lets out this big, "Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about." She's a different person on vacation. And, it broke the ice. Everybody kind of smiled and chuckled, and everyone, put everyone at ease, and we were off to a great start, talking about travel mostly. Hot tub 2 was right by the main pool. It was under a canopy, but it wasn't open very late. And, Paul always found a way to open a conversation by commenting on what someone was wearing or if she'd seen them somewhere before. And always got the conversation going. Our last stop was the hot tub at the ship's spa. And this one was just right, as opposed to like the 3 little bears. The last one was just right. It had a snow room, it had a cold pool, and it had an ice bucket stall. I don't recommend that to anybody. Being in the hot tub and then getting there and pulling that thing, that cold water comes dumping on you, man. I just let out a huge wow. Everybody turned their heads. But still, we had interesting conversations with people, and we got to know them a little, if just for a brief visit. And we left them feeling like we had made some new friends and knowing that we would probably never, ever see them again, not even on the ship, possibly not on that cruise. But we decided, yes, this would be our go-to hot tub. And Paula, who considers herself a raging, introvert, was the life of the tub crawl that day. It was great. Anyway, I told you that because I had read that some signs of an open-hearted person is that they can easily strike up conversations with strangers. They're usually very authentic, someone you feel you could trust. They're warm, they're unimposing, always present. And that's Paula all over, I think. So I made the point to follow her example, and I would try to start up conversations with those I encountered at the bar in the morning getting coffee. And I was curious about people. I asked them, tried to strike up a conversation. I found that most folks really love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about their lives. And it's really a sign of trust when someone opens up to you like that. But I also found that my own heart just opened a little bit too, just providing myself that time of connection with another stranger. So the reason I chose this topic, Hearts Wide Open, well, for 2 reasons, really. One, because I know this is something I would like to work on myself, keeping my heart open. And 2, because I'm convinced that this practice of living with an open heart is the key to healing ourselves and the world back to wholeness, okay? Yes. The good news is being open-hearted, that's our natural state, okay? That's our divine presence, our natural state. And you may think you're not an open-hearted person, but the truth is, our hearts are always opening and closing, depending on our mood of the day, what we encounter, who we encounter. Our hearts may be open or closing, what we're watching on TV. But the good news is that our practice is to notice when our hearts are opening and when our hearts are closing, and learn the techniques of how to return to that space of open-heartedness. So I was raised, with an old school Lebanese father and two older brothers, not exactly the best training ground for an open-hearted, to learn open-heartedness. And I'd say my mother's heart was ajar. Okay, it wasn't quite open. It was just, there. She was always loving and compassionate, but she was also pretty guarded. We never really had any heart-to-heart talks. And she never expressed her deeper feelings, at least not to me. But she definitely softened as she aged. And I think it was in her death that I found my first heart-opening experience. She had her second stroke, and I was driving down from Nashville. Unfortunately, she was unconscious when I got there, but I got to stay in the room all night, through the night. It was just me and her. And of course, during that time, I would talk to her. And, I thanked her for the love she gave us boys and for how she was always on our side. I thanked her for the beautiful meals she made for us all, lovingly made. And I thanked her for bringing music into my life. And in that big swell of gratitude, I just felt my heart open up, and I was able to have a good cry. Just with me and her. Now, of course, my heart closed right back up when I got around family. A stoic brothers and dad, handled our loss of our mom, in our own private ways. But in public, we're like, oh, yes, we're fine. Thank you. So a huge first step to living open-hearted is at first to notice the times when your heart is open and when it's closed. So when my heart is closed, I feel joyless. I just can't bring up any, that wahoo feeling. And I find I've slipped into victim-mindedness. I start blaming others for stuff that's going on. I get insecure. I also tend to anger easily and be defensive. And, it makes it difficult for others to get to know me and to get close to me because all my defenses are up. They're all on. So if you think you're closed-hearted, just remember, there are no closed-hearted people. There are only closed hearts. Closed hearts, people whose hearts happen to be closed, we'll put it that way. So what does cause our hearts to close? Most of the time, the only thing that can block that powerful heart energy of pure love is fear, of course. And it could be fear of being known, which keeps us from being vulnerable, fear of being hurt or attacked. COVID closed a lot of our hearts, as we went through the lockdown. Social distancing made it really difficult to interact with each other. And the divisive climate of politics around the vaccines made it even more difficult to kind of trust and open up to others where we normally would be able to do that. Today, we're watching these horrific images of mass shootings. We have wars in Ukraine and Gaza. The politics of religion are playing out in all of these places, causing even more brutality, and it's all transmitted to our TVs for our viewing pleasure. And predictably, a lot of that brutalism, that's how it finds its way back here to the U.S. So closed hearts are fearful. And what we see happening around us naturally makes us afraid. Maybe once you weren't afraid to strike up a conversation with a stranger, but now we see vicious debates and people screaming at each other because of our difference of opinions. So we close up. Author and New York Times columnist, and I thank Paula for bringing this to my attention. His name is David Brooks, and he had a short piece, and it was called Staying Humane in Inhumane Times. And he asked the question, how do we live in this brutal environment without being brutalized ourselves? How do we remain open-hearted and not get jaded by all the stuff that's going on around us? So when our hearts are closed, because when our hearts are closed, we can easily become desensitized to all that stuff. And we don't want that to happen. So we want to make sure we can try to keep our hearts open so that we do not become desensitized and we're moved to take action. One of the more memorable stops that we had was the great walled city of Dubrovnik in Croatia. And this is a walled city that over its history always welcomed foreigners needing safety. But as a result, they were constantly being conquered. And in fact, they just finally won their independence in 1991, when Yugoslavia was broken up. And their motto, according to our tour guide, is, be kind to everyone, but honest with no one. And they learned not to sacrifice the parts of their culture that bind them. Their hospitality, their kindness to strangers, while still finding ways to protect themselves when they're being taken advantage of. And we can do that ourselves. Being able to keep your heart open in the face of bitterness and bitter circumstances is truly a heroic act. So I'm inviting us all here today to be heroes. Are you up for it? Let's be heroes. Don't let the flames of hatred and divisiveness scare us into our shells like little turtles where we just hide and until we think it's safe to come out. The world, our country, is calling us now more than ever to keep our hearts open in the face of fear. Author James Baldwin said, "The world is held together by the love and compassion of a very few people." And Gandhi actually said something similar. He said, "The pure love of one soul can offset the hatred of millions." Those are empowering statements. Just think of all of the hatred we could offset just by the people here today and those of you watching out there. So we're here now in this time in our history. I think we're meant to be here now in this time in our history to be powerful agents for positive change. Social structures that have been in place for millennia are starting to crumble, not because they're old, but because they're obsolete. They're obsolete. They no longer are supported by this emerging consciousness that's coming up around the world. And they can't be replaced or repaired by the consciousness that created them. It has to be a new, elevated consciousness to reestablish these old social structures. So here we are. That's where we come in. We're here now to bring the wisdom of open minds and the compassion of open hearts together for the greater good of all. To replace external power with spiritual power. Spiritual power. That's the power that's not used to control and dominate. That's the power that is used to empower others. So are we all up to the tasks? Or we wouldn't be here in this time in our history. So if you are ready, willing, and worthy to commit to a heart wide open, here are some reminders I've cobbled together. Am I using this? Did try? That I've cobbled together. It comes from books and articles. And I think these there turned out to be 7 of them. I think these are the key ones. 7 strategies for an open heart. Have you even practiced with this? Oh, yeah, there. Wait. That wasn't supposed to happen. Let me back up. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the first, release the past. And we've heard this. We've heard how important it is and how useless it is to hang on to resentments and to let those bad things that happen to us, if we don't let them go, they keep coming up in our lives. Michael Stringer in Untethered Soul, he calls them samskaras, these old, highly emotional events that happen in our life. If we don't let them go, they get buried and then they start popping up when we least expect them. We don't want that to happen. A heart loves to its fullest in the here and now, which is really the only place God is present, is in the here and now. So release the past. Second, yeah, you're on the edge of your seat, right? Waiting to see what it is. Drop judgment and start accepting what is. So an open heart loves all. An open heart loves everything. But when we start to judge something negatively, we begin to compartmentalize that love. And our hearts are unable to be whole. Our heart becomes divided. And it's not operating at its full capacity. So just remember judgment. When you see somebody, that might rub you the wrong way, just drop that judgment and see them as whole, perfect being that they are. Number 3, empathy. Of course, try to cultivate empathy in your life. And empathy invites us all to imagine what it would be like to be in someone else's shoes. So that's another great way to quell that judgment, is to empathize with the person. even the people we see as might be dictators and evil people in the world, if we imagine ourselves in those shoes, then it's able to give us more compassion for others. Okay, number 4, ta-da, affirmative prayer and meditation. There's a good class coming up on that, by the way. Affirmative prayer also keeps your heart open to others, because affirmative prayer is all about keeping us centered in the truth of who we are and the truth of our divinity, and also about affirming that same truth for everyone that we're praying with and praying for. And in our meditation, that's where we focus on compassion and being in others' shoes and just opening our hearts to different points of view. Number 5 is intention. So if you're willing to do this, just get up each day, set an intention to go through your day with an open heart. Okay, and some things you could try. Smile more. Smile at people. I always smile at children, when I see them and wave, but I try to smile at grown-ups too, see if they return that. Keep your head up, talk to a stranger. When someone talks to you, be sure you listen actively to them. Give compliments wherever you can. And I'm not talking about nice shirt or like your haircut. I learned this from my brother Boyd, who's very generous with compliments. Deep and thoughtful compliments might start with, I love the way you ... or, I noticed how you always ... Those kind of compliments, really, really deep and thoughtful compliments. And you'd be surprised how much that opens your heart and the other person's heart. Number 6, focus on what you have come here to give and not what you've come here to get. Okay, focus your attention every time you go out into the world, every time you have an encounter, ask yourself, what can I contribute to my encounter with this encounter that would be beneficial without being self-serving? So our actions are all made in the intention of the greater good, not just for our own selfish actions, self-serving action. So that's a way you can focus. It's really important, because I know I slip into that. What am I here to get? And we've learned that spiritual practice. What if we come here to learn? What lessons have we come here to learn? Well, it's really about the gifts you've been given that you've come here and incarnated in this time to give. And finally, the ubiquitous gratitude. Nothing opens the heart like gratitude. Of course, I found that out with my mom. And that means noticing what is going right in your life, staying focused on that, and giving thanks. And also thanking others when they give you compliments, or thanking others for their positive attributes. I really appreciate Lisa and what she puts into the PowerPoint each day, and I'm grateful for that. Each week, I'm sorry. So, and I'm going to leave you with this last suggestion. This is an observation that I've made because I love cars, I love to drive, and I've probably ridden or driven more than 1 million miles, traveling around the country with Bonnie Nelson and doing my own things, and that our U.S. roads are perfect arena for practicing open-heartedness, okay? It is, right? You know where I'm going with this. Any of these things could be applied when we drive. Just think about it. Here's what's going on. Everyone out there, every one of you on the road has one thing in common. We all want to get to our destination safely. We want to get there without incident. And we depend and trust the other drivers to help us do that. We trust that this driver's going to stay in his lane, that driver's not going to run a red light, and so on. So it doesn't matter to us when we're driving, the driver's political views, what their religion is, who they're sleeping with, or what they want to call themselves. Everyone has a common goal. Everyone is cooperating to help each other achieve that goal. Now, where else does that happen, right? I actually get a thrill when I see the zipper executed perfectly. We all know what the zipper is. When you're merging into lanes And, when two lanes are merging, and then there's always a person who goes, you're not getting in front of me. And then that person has to stop and back up, and those people stop, and this person behind just trying to let the other person in, and it just becomes a mess. Okay, the perfect zipper. You start off, and everybody just, lets the other person in. We're all going together. It's just like that. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And when it works the way it's supposed to. So we're in this tumultuous time right now, and many of our obsolete social structures are beginning to break down. Many churches are teaching division, separation, even caste. Spirituality, like unity and other new thought faiths, are going to be the new paradigm for rebuilding those religious social structures. Positive, practical, progressive spirituality. So you are in the right place at the right time. You are here right now. You are part of that change. You are participating in a spiritual community that stresses open-heartedness and inclusiveness. And I've lost my... Okay, you're in a... sorry, so I was tuning this up all morning long, so I have to read it. You're in a place that stresses open-heartedness and inclusive, and whose mission and vision are about personal transformation, honoring of all, and the opening up of our hearts. So take advantage of that. Embrace one another in this community. Make new friends here. Meet people you haven't met before. Practice speaking to a stranger here. It's a very safe space. Seek out those you may not have had anything in common with and try to connect with them. Take classes. And then go out into the world where you bring your big, beautiful, wide open heart to shine. Let's prepare for meditation now. We're going to begin with the heart math coherence, basically, and that is to focus your breath, turn your attention inward, and begin to slow your breathing down. You might want to match your breathing to your heartbeat, maybe 4 beats in, 4 beats out. And don't imagine breathing into your lungs, but imagine that breath going into your heart space. And the Easterners believe that prana is the energy of the divine, and it's in the air that we breathe. So when we breathe in that, take that breath into our heart, we're breathing in the very energy of the divine right into our hearts. And as we slow our breath, we're releasing stress. We're letting go of things that we're afraid of, things that have bothered us, any stress of the morning. And we bring our attention now into this moment. And we know that we are connected in this moment through the love of our open hearts and through the presence of Spirit that's in and around and through us all. Now picture your heart, this powerful apparatus. It's pumping precious life-giving blood throughout your body, imbuing every cell with the power of love. And then just be grateful for it. Say to yourself, thank you, my heart. Thank you for being open. Thank you for loving, for teaching me how to love. You can repeat to yourself these affirmations. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I live in balance with others. I live in balance with others. Love fills my heart and heals me. My heart is open to love. Love fills my heart and heals me. My heart is open to love. I rejoice in the joys, successes, and good health of others. I rejoice in the joys, the successes, and the good health of others. I am able to let go of the past and forgive myself and to forgive others. I am able to let go of the past and forgive myself and others. And as we feel that big, powerful apparatus pumping precious, life-giving blood, we say, I now radiate the essence of pure love. I radiate the essence of pure love. Bring our attention back to our breath, breathing that prana into our heart space, allowing our hearts to open, and feel that oneness as we go into a few moments of silence. My heart is open. I am open to the presence of love in everything I do. I refrain from judging others. I set my intention every day to have an open heart. And I give thanks every day for my open heart. When you wake up and your heart is beating, say thank you, heart. And just invite it to open up. For this we give thanks. Thanks for the infinite power of love that imbues all life. And the infinite power of love that we know will heal the world. So it is. Amen.
Spirit, flow through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding peace. Show, Spirit, show through me as I open up to be an expression of your